Okay, lastly, we'll talk about postmodern approaches in group counseling, and afterwards, I will give you brief information on your midterm. Okay. Okay, there are general guidelines for postmodern approaches. When we say postmodern approaches, we mean solution-focused brief therapy, narrative therapy, and feminist therapy. And actually, these challenge the many assumptions of traditional therapies. And this postmodernism is based on the premise that there is no single truth. So they refer to the subjectivity and uniqueness of the clients and their experiences. And they believe that individuals create their own reality. And they believe that people have their own resources, they are competent, healthy, resilient, and have the capacity to discover solutions that can change the direction of their lives. Maybe you can get some similarities between this premise of postmodern approaches and which one I hope you are saying experiential approaches. And they defend that individuals are experts on their own lives. Okay, we'll start with solution focused brief therapy. Maybe you already had this course from Georgia. I will mainly focus on the techniques that are used in group counseling settings. Of course, let's briefly talk about key concepts as well. Solution focused brief therapy moves from problem talk to solution talk, and they are focusing on keeping therapy simple and brief. It's already in its name, right? So they are focusing on the solution rather than the problem, and they are time limited. They are brief. And members learn to pay attention to what is working, and change is constant and inevitable, and small changes pave the way for larger changes. But they are dealing with what you aimed for that specific therapy. Okay, you are coming to the therapy. What do you aim to change? This. Okay, let's move on for this. Okay, but of course, these can lead to bigger changes afterwards. Therapeutic goals, they emphasize the role of participants establishing their own goals and preferences. Remember, in even behavioral therapy, in reality therapy, still the clients had goals, but there the therapists were active and directive. But here, in postmodern approaches, the clients, the group members still have goals, but the therapist believes in the client and his or her strengths, and he or she knows that participants can establish their own goals and their own preferences. And members think about their future and what they want to be different in their lives. And the therapy aims to foster this understanding in the group members. And everything, the therapeutic goals are clear, specific, observable, small, realistic, and avoidable changes. Good therapeutic relationship, as you can guess from experiential approaches, collaborative. Group therapist strives to carry out therapy with an individual rather than doing therapy on an individual in the group setting. Okay, it's something going on together. They never um, miss out the resources and strengths of the group members, the clients. Nothing new. Okay, empathy and collaborative partnership, you already know it. This is important. They avoid using language that implies any diagnosis, assessment, and intervention. Instead, the way problems and their solutions are talked, and these make some differences. Of course, caring, interest, respectfulness, curiosity, openness, empathy, contact, etc. These are the basis for therapeutic relationship. And for techniques, let's go with these. Techniques focus on the future and how best to solve problems rather than on understanding the cause of problems. Okay, so good question is coming. What have you done since you called for an appointment that has made a difference in your problem? Okay, the change according to this perspective starts as soon as the person takes an appointment. So they are firstly asking about pre-therapy change. Okay, so which gives the client the understanding that okay, by taking an appointment you already started the change even before the therapy. Good intervention. And questioning is the very strong intervention technique. To better understand the group members' experience rather than simply gathering information, they ask open-ended questions. Tell me more about your concerns. What do you think needs to happen to make things a little better at work? Who will be the first to notice when things get better? And how might they react to you? Good questions. And we have these good exception questions. They direct group members to those times in their lives when their problems did not exist. And you should attentively listen for signs of previous solutions, exceptions, and goals. And here is a good example coming. Randy says, I feel tired and depressed most of the time. I get angry at my kids over something they didn't do almost every night. And exception finding questions include, when is this problem absent or less noticeable? Has anything changed for the better since the last group session? Good questions. And once an exception is discovered, the leader can explore exception-related conditions and encourage a member to replicate these conditions. What was different about yesterday when you felt less depressed? Bir sorunla gelir, der ki işte sürekli depresyondayım, sürekli kaygılıyım. Şey bile sorabiliyoruz tabii ki yetişkin danışanlarla ve yetişkin ve tecrübeli bir terapistseniz seks yaparken de mi depresyondasınız sorusunu sorabilirsiniz. Ya da depresyonda olmadınız başka ne zaman? Tuvaletinizde de mi? Tuvalet yaparken de mi depresyondasınız? Ya da peki o de kendinizi depresif hissetmediğiniz bu durumda siz ne yaptığınızda depresif hissetmediniz? Amacım ne? Kişi bir şey yaptı. Sen bir şey başardın ve depresif hissetmedin o anda. Acaba seni orada bunu hissettirmeyecek şekilde yaptığın şey neydi? Neyi başardın sen? Hala neyine odaklanıyorum? Güçlü yanlarına, kaynaklarına, yapabildiklerine, motivasyonuna odaklanıyorum. Değil mi? Okay, and a related intervention to exception questions involves changing what one is doing. I think you can read this. Good example. And we have this great miracle question. And this question allows members of a group to describe life without the problem. If a miracle happened and the problem you have disappeared overnight, how would you know it was solved? And what would be different? Okay, what would be different? And scaling questions require group members to specify improvement on a particular dimension on a scale of 0 to 10. This technique enables clients to see progress being made in each specific step and decrease. And solution-focused therapists use scaling questions when changes in human experiences are not easily observed, such as feelings, moods, or communication. And please read these good examples for scaling our situations, okay? And let's go on. And summary feedback is another intervention solution-focused therapists utilized. Summary feedback in the form of genuine affirmations or pointing out particular strengths that clients have demonstrated. So you should allow time in each group session for sharing feedback with one another. This is for fostering the strength and resources your clients or the group members have. And the leader gives members credit for the changes they are making through statements such as, how did you manage to make these improvements? How does your family treat you differently now compared to before? What have these improvements taught you about yourself? And what is the biggest difference between the old you and the new you? Okay, good questions for reflecting the change. These questions provide encouragement, as I've said before, and this kind of questioning and feedback system assists members in carrying their learning outside of the group sessions into their daily living, because out of the group they will also say that, oh, okay, I was able to do this. Actually, old me would do this differently, but new me is doing this more solution focused, okay, not instead of being problem focused. So these differentiations are important. Let's go to narrative therapy. Narrative therapy is based partly on examining the stories that people tell and understanding the meaning of their stories. Every one of us has a story, and especially in narrative therapy and in other theoretical approaches, how you tell your story and with which words is very important, because the language is everything. It reflects all of our unconscious and conscious materials, our feelings and everything. Benim şöyle bir danışanım vardı. Sürekli yetişkin, 40 yaşında. Sürekli babasıyla rekabet halinde. Bunu söylüyorum ama o kadar narsist ki mümkün değil, anlamıyor, kabul etmiyor. Yani nasıl babamla rekabet içinde olabilirim hala. Böyle bir şey söylemenizin bana ne gibi bir katkısı olacak Burcu Hanım? İnanılmaz narsist. Ondan sonra dedim ki bir gün babanıza saygı duyuyor musunuz dedim. Şöyle duyuyorum saygı. Beni sonuçta bugüne kadar büyütmüş. Donuk. Sonra bu saygı duyma meselesinin içinden yine hani ama hala rekabete devam ediyorsunuz. Rekabete devam etmiyorum. Babam iyi bir baba. Umarım ben ondan daha iyi bir baba olurum. Bakın, dildeki bir kelime hemen kendini ele veriyor. Umarım daha iyi baba olurum. Hala babalığı karşılaştırıyor. Yani hala rekabet içinde demek. O yüzden hikayelerimizde hangi sözcüklerle, hangi cümlelerle, hangi paragraflarla anlattığımız önemli. O yüzden narratif terapi bayağı kullanılan bir teknik. Yani başka bir theoretical approach'ta olabilirsiniz. Bundan yararlanabilirsiniz. Okay. Each of the stories that our group members tell are true for the individual who is telling the story. There is no absolute reality, but so the therapist attempts to separate clients from their problems so that they don't adopt a fixed view of their identity. And group members are invited to view their stories from different perspectives and eventually to co-create an alternative life story. Okay? You have a life story that you believe in, and you tell it the way you believe in that. And it consists of problems, joyness, etc. But the way you tell is the way you believe it to be. But when you get a new perspective from the therapist or the other group members, then this will give you the chance to rewrite your story, to retell it. Okay, this is important. And participants in group learn that they are not the problem is the problem. Okay, they are different. The therapist especially differentiates the problem from the member's own life story. And by this way, they free themselves from problem-saturated stories and open space to co-create alternative stories. Therapeutic goal. Therapists invite group members to describe their experience in fresh language, which tends to open new vistas of what is possible. And in terms of the relationship, Members are the primary interpreters of their own experiences. Therapist is not in a role to interpret and analyze the stories of the group members. Um, by careful listening, respectful questioning, and with collaboration, the therapeutic relationship is established. The techniques used are the person is not the problem. Oops, I'm sorry. But the problem is the problem. It is at the basis of their main interventions and externalizing conversations that are aimed at separating the problem from the person's identity are important. Members learn that they are not cemented to their problem-saturated stories and can develop alternative and more constructive stories. Şimdi geçmişinde, çocukluğunda taciz hikayesi olan birini dinleyin. Şimdi hikayesini anlatırken diyecek ki işte aslında çok güzel bir çocukluğum olmuştu. İlk 3 yaşta annemle babamın anlattığına göre çok mutlu bir aileye doğdum. 5 yaşında anaokulundan çıkarken bir tane abi geldi beni sıkıştırdı ve taciz etti. Ve ben bunu çok iyi hatırlıyorum. Bütün hikayem orada değişti. Artık ben eski ben değildim. O tacize uğramış küçük kız artık kimseyle iletişime geçemez. Kimseyle ilişki kuramaz. Ve hayatta hiçbir zaman başarılı olamazdı. Hikaye bu. Ne oluyor? Sizin kendiniz o tacizin aynısı oluyorsunuz. Bundan ayrıştıramıyorsunuz kendinizi. Narratif terapide yapılan, evet 5 yaşında bir taciz yaşadım. Sonra bunu annemle babama söyledim ve beni o kadar çok desteklediler ve bir oyun terapisine götürdüler ki ben çoğu zaman o deneyimimi hatırlamakta zorlanıyorum bile. Ve görüyorum ki birçok insan bu kadar şanslı olamazken ben harika ilişkiler kurabiliyorum ve bunun üzerinde de etkisinin olmadığını görüyorum. Ya da hiç bu konulara bile girmeyip ve o zaman terapiste gittiğimizi hatırlıyorum. Sonra ortaokul oldu. Ortaokul yıllarım ergenliğim biraz hareketli geçti. İşte o zaman çok tatlı bir sevgilim vardı. Bakın hikayenin dönüştüğü hale bakın. İlkinde problemin kendisi kişinin yaşamının kendisiydi. İkinci ve üçüncüde daha çok olmakla birlikte problem o hikayenin bir parçasıydı, tamamı değildi. Narratif terapide böyle bir teknikten bahsediyoruz. I think and I hope it's clear. And we are going on with feminist therapy. And from the beginning, feminist therapy groups actively work to establish shelters for battered women, rape crisis centers, and women's health and reproductive health centers at the beginning and at the occurrence of feminist therapy. But building community, providing authentic, mutual, empathic relationships, creating a sense of social awareness, and emphasizing social change are all significant strengths of this approach to group work. This means that when we are talking about feminist therapy, we are not only mentioning about working with women. We are not only after increasing feminist opinion because there are such misunderstandings in the field. We are not the enemies of men, but feminist therapy is after increasing social awareness in the community and to develop mutual empathic understanding towards others. Okay? And they value the voices of both women and men, not just the women. And members in a group that is structured by feminist principles can expect more than simple problem-solving strategies. They need to be prepared for major shifts in their way of viewing the world. Maybe in this regard, feminist therapy may resemble existential approach at the point that They present a philosophy rather than a therapeutic technique or therapeutic understanding. This is like a style of living, another point of view. Maybe it can be, um, they can have some common points in terms of this. And moreover, feminist therapy triggers changes in the way people perceive themselves. And after getting through feminist therapy group counseling groups, um, they start to involve in transformed interpersonal relationships. Interpersonal relationships do not most of the time stay the same. And when we consider the key concepts, they focus on issues of diversity, the complexity of sexism, and the centrality of social context in understanding gender issues. Um, they are challenging male-oriented uh, assumptions, and they emphasize that gender role expectations profoundly influence our identity from birth onward, and they are trying to encourage clients, group members to explore how they were raised up, how they grow up, and how they regulate their relationships in their adulthood as a result of societal and familial gender role dispositions. Okay, and okay, I said this. So understanding the symptoms is that problematic symptoms can be viewed as coping or survival strategies rather than evidence of pathology, according to this feminist therapy. And the first step toward change is becoming aware of society has influenced our beliefs and behaviors. So, firstly, you will understand that the society and the culture you have grown in affect you, your beliefs, behaviors, stance, etc. For example, in one group, a man consistently referred to the girls that worked for him in the office. Several women in the group let him know they thought his remarks were inappropriate because his employees were mature young. He replied that he didn't see it as a big deal that he called the women girls, but eventually he was able to understand the implications of his references. And therapeutic goals of feminist therapy, the major goal is empowerment. And members of a group strive for a sense of self-acceptance, self-confidence, self-esteem, joy, and self-actualization. So feminist therapy aims to foster these in the group members. Also, enhancing the quality of interpersonal relationships, especially assisting women and men to make decisions regarding role performances, and balancing independence and interdependence. Social change and valuing and affirming diversity are among the therapeutic goals of feminist therapy. And as a result of the techniques used, insight is inevitably developed. And as a result, group members start to be more aware of their stereotypes, their biases, their judgments, especially regarding the gender roles. And both individuals' change and social transformation are basic goals of therapy. Actually, in the group, feminist therapists make, of course, individual interventions and also group interventions. But according to the basis of feminist therapy, if a person changes in terms of their assumptions regarding gender roles, or if a person takes the courage and takes risk to change his or her roles in close relationships, then this will inevitably lead to small social transformations in the society and in the culture that is involved, okay? And there's egalitarian manner in therapeutic relationship. Um, Power relations are considered. The concerns about these power relations in the world in general are taken into account. So there is not a power relationship between the therapist and the group members, but more an egalitarian approach. Both group leader and members take active roles, working together, and feminist therapists share common ground with Adlerian therapists in their emphasis on social equity and social interest. And in line with Adlerian, feminist therapists believe the therapeutic relation should be a non-hierarchical and person-to-person relationship. And also they resemble person-centered therapies. I had said experiential ones, they resemble these postmodern approaches. Feminist therapists convey messages of genuineness and strive for mutual empathy between the client and the therapist. And let's briefly check overall integrative approach. The practice of group counseling is based on concepts and techniques drawn from various theoretical approaches. As you see, psychodynamic, experiential, cognitive behavioral, and postmodern approaches. We have a lot of approaches and their techniques that we can use. One reason for the current trend toward an integrative approach to the helping process is the recognition that no single theory is comprehensive enough to account for complexities of human behavior. So you must have heard about eclecticism. We are both talking about theoretical eclecticism, where you can utilize from different theoretical approaches, where you can integrate different theoretical orientations. And also we are talking about technical eclecticism. In technical eclecticism, you may have only one theory that you can follow, or that you prefer to follow, that you feel yourself close to. But in cases where necessary, you are utilizing from the techniques of different approaches. Then here you are eclectic in terms of the techniques that you use. Okay? For those of you who are beginning your counseling career, it's probably wise to select the primary theory the closest to your basic beliefs. Learn that theory as thoroughly as you can, and at the same time be open to examining what other theories can offer. And if you begin by working within the parameters of a particular theory, you will have an entry point from which to construct your own counseling practices. And you should know that every group member, every client will not be the same. So you cannot just take one thing and apply it to everyone. Rather, everyone is unique. So we always say that you should have a toolbox. And in this toolbox, you should have some techniques, some skills, and some theoretical orientations where you will be able to use when needed. Okay, because every technique, every theory will not work with every client. But important thing is that if you're a student in training, as you see here, it is unrealistic to expect that you will already have an integrated and well-defined theoretical model. An integrative perspective is the product of a great deal of reading, study, supervision, clinical practice, research, and theorizing. So you just not you just not can have an integrated theoretical model after taking 3 courses of theories of counseling after having masters. It requires years and years of experience, practice, and research, reading, etc. So this is not something that happens quickly. It requires time. Okay, we came to the end of our presentation. We have covered all of the theories of group counseling. Let's talk about the midterm. In your midterm, you will have both short essay and objective items, both subjective and objective questions. I don't know yet how many questions you will have. I don't know how many multiple choice, how many true false, how many essays. I don't know if there will be fill in the blanks or not, because I didn't prepare the questions yet. So you will meet with the questions on Friday. And what I expect from you is to have your computer and to have your phone with you. I will send, actually you already have the Zoom link, so I will not send a new Zoom link, but you already know the Zoom link which we do our course every time through. And you will not turn on Zoom on your computer. You will just see the midterm on your computer, okay? Like it was in emotions exam. And you will be here. And the phone will be with Zoom application already uploaded. So you will turn on, you will sign in to Zoom from your phone, and you will keep your phone in a frame that I will be able to see both the screen of your computer and your face. You should sign into Zoom with your name, surname, and ID visible on the screen you are in. And throughout the midterm, you should mute yourself, but you should be able to hear me. Don't mute me, okay? Because I may do some explanations, etc. You should be hearing me. Don't mute me. Mute yourself. Your cam should be on, and for this Zoom attendance signature sheet will be provided, and you need to sign those sheets the latest by Thursday 5 p.m. If you don't, you will not be able to get the exam, okay? So we will start the midterm at 10:40 according to KKTC time zone. In Zoom, it may have been arranged so to Istanbul time zone. Ignore it. Just I arranged it. Don't worry about the time, but arrange yourself so to KKTC time, and it will be held the midterm at 10:40. Okay? You will learn how much how many minutes, how many hours the midterm will take on that day. But since we have time till 12:30, I don't think that this will be a problem for any of you. Most probably it will be from an hour to an hour and a half. I don't know since I didn't prepare the questions, but we have time till 12:30 as I've said. We'll start at 10:40. What else should I say? You should arrange the system, you should be ready ahead. Zoom should be uploaded before the midterm. And I think I won't say anything. And you are responsible in your midterm till the end of theories topic. So if you have any questions, you can write under YouTube video comments part. So everyone will see. This means that don't send individual questions to me. If you will ask something about the theories, then you can ask it under comment parts. And what else? You are already responsible from books and both Corey's and Jacob's books, and I uploaded the presentations and the videos for asynchronous classes. I think that's all I'm gonna share, and the latest by Monday I will also send a detailed email to you. Okay, be patient please. That's all. Good luck. Have a nice weekend. Study well. See you on Friday.